Hey resellers, today we're going on a fashion time machine ride, all the way from the 1950s up until the 2000s. And I'm showing you 3 high profit bolos from each decade. These are pieces that you can find at thrift stores, at flea markets, even your grandma's attic, maybe even your own attic, and flip for some serious cash. Let's jump in. All right, we are gonna jump into that first decade of the 1950s. Real quick, if you're wondering who I am, my name is LeeMeier. I'm a stay-at-home mom of 4, and I've made well over $100,000 flipping used clothes and other items on sites like eBay. I share that not to brag, but to show you what is possible. Even if you live in a small town, there are so many profitable things around you. And I am here to make that extra cash possible for you. So let's go ahead and dive on in. The 1950s were all about full skirts, classic Americana, and sometimes a little bit of a rebellious design. Now, these full skirts are selling really well, especially if you come across some more unique designs. Some of these are selling for $100, $200+. This is one that has dancers there around the hem of that skirt. This one was listed for $185 and it sold for that full asking price. This one is a pink linen embroidered skirt. You can see the embroidery there on that skirt. This was listed at $125 and it sold for $100. Now this one is that classic poodle skirt. If you come across any of these with poodles on them, like these can do really well. This one actually had 4 bids on it listed as an auction and it went for $150. Any men's rockabilly shirts can do really well, especially if they have a little bit of a Western flair to them. This one is actually a Gubavera. You can see the design here on this one. Cubana is the brand there. And this one was listed for $125 and it sold full asking price. This is one with more of that Western design. Pearl snaps, you can see some of the design there at the top of the shoulder, as well as at those cuffs. Here's the tag on that one, H-bar-C ranch wear. There's the back of that very rockabilly style with this one listed at $150, sold for $127.50. And then this one is a very unique jacket. This one sold for quite a lot. There's the brand tag there for you, but just so many details on this. This one had 1 bid and went for $1,000. Shirts that you come across, whether they're more of a plain style with just kind of a bowling look to them, or they're from a bowling alley that's no longer in existence, these can sell really well. With a lot of these shirts, you're going to see what is called chain stitch. This is really indicative of this decade, and this shirt has that chain stitch there on the back. That's the back of the shirt. There's the tag, and then there's the front. With these, it is very common to have the name embroidered there above that pocket. This was listed for $150 and went for $100. This one is a little bit more simple design. There's the tag on the inside, Dunhill Bowler. There's the front. Nothing too special about that. Burnouts go there on the back. That was listed for $250 and it sold for $150. And this one is even plainer. It literally just has the name there stitched on the front, nothing on the back. Not too much going on for this one, but it sold for the full asking price of $75. Before we jump into the swinging 60s, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, Vendoo, for making it possible for me to be here with you. Now, you might know Vendoo as a cross-lister, but it's so much more than just that. For me, it's the hub where I run my whole reselling business from. Whether I'm listing a 1950s bowling shirt, a 70s prairie dress, or a 90s Banties, it all starts in Vendoo. I can create my listings once,
Right from there, push them out to multiple marketplaces, track my inventory, update prices, even see which decades, which brands, which items are making me the most profit. And with Vendu's auto sales detection, I can go about my day without having to worry about duplicate sales. When something sells on one platform, Vendu automatically ends it everywhere else. If you want to try it out, use my link in the description. That'll get you 25% off of your first month. And trust me, once you start using this for your business, you're gonna wonder how you ever survived without it.
The 60s took us from sleek mini mods to counterculture cool. And one of the big sellers from this decade are those mod dresses. You're going to see a lot of floral prints, geometric designs, a little bit wilder patterns, brighter colors. This is a dress from a brand called LeeMeier. You can see those big chunky buttons there down the front, as well as the pockets there on the front. This is the brand tag here for you, LeeMeier. This was listed for $75 and went for $55. This is another 60s dress, starting to get into more of that 70s psychedelic look here with the colors. But this one sold for $62, listed for $69. And then this one is an unbranded, handmade captain. You can see those floral prints with those pinks and reds, the detail there at the back of the neck. This one listed for $191 and sold for $163. Levi's Big E jeans are another big seller from this decade. That capital E was done away with in about 1971. So most of the items that you come across that have the big E on them are from the 1960s. The demand for these jeans are huge. There's that big E on that red tab on the back. These are also selvage, which is a really good indication of it being a true vintage, authentic, older item. Now, this one went on auction. It had 3 bids on it and went for $280. This one is a really interesting pair of big E's full of patches. There's a patch there at the rear as well as the front of the leg. And this one also went on auction. It had 21 bids and it sold for $190. It's not just jeans that are selling. This is a jacket. You can see the big E there. There's the patch. This one also on auction, 19 bids, went for $234. Middleton board shirts from the 1960s do really well. Now, this is a style that is still made, and I'll show you here in a second how to be able to identify these older items. This is one of those from the 1960s, and with these, you're going to see a small loop there at the collar. They are not made this way anymore, so this is a key way to be able to identify these from this decade is by that loop. Here's what the tag looks like, and you'll notice the tag is different than their current tag. So that's another way to be able to identify. This one went for $55. This is another example of one of their board shirts from the 60s. Again, you're seeing that loop there at the collar. This was listed for $80 and sold for $60. And I had to show this one because this is actually a flawed item. And I love to pick these up because every reseller, almost every other reseller passes these over. But if you know this can be some pretty good money. I personally like to auction them, start at $1.99, see what they go for. And these are ones that have holes in them because they are made of wool. You oftentimes will encounter moth holes. This one actually has a tear at the pocket there. This seller decided to list it for $50 and they took a best offer of $30. So there's still money to be made here, even in flawed items. If you can pick them up for just a couple of bucks, could be a good flip for you. The 70s were all about free-spirited style as well as a little bit of rock star swagger. Now, one of the biggest sellers from the decade of the 70s are these gunny sacks prairie style dresses. This dress is one that has a little bit more of a bohemian Renaissance look to it. It's got lace up there at the front as well as some crochet there. This is an absolutely beautiful dress. There is the tag there for you, a little bit different than some of the more common tags that I've come across. This one has some repair work done to it, not the best of job. It's got a hole there in that seam. This one sold for the full asking price of $250, even with those flaws. Now, Gunny Sacks does make items other than just dresses, although that's about 98% of their our dresses. Do be on the lookout for these other items. This is a skirt. There is the tag there. You can see how it definitely has that cottagecore prairie look to it with that little floral print. This one sold for $100 full price. This is another one with that definite prairie look, and this one is actually a hooded dress. Now, these hooded dresses can sell for into the thousands. This one did not sell for quite as much. There is the hood on the back. And then this is what the tag looks like. This is the tag that is most common, the one that I have ran into the most, outsourcing half dozen times of finding these. This one sold for the full price of $400. Now, Levi's Big E were from the 60s, but by the 70s, it was the orange tab. And buyers are after these orange tabs. Collectors are after these orange tabs. You're going to see them on jeans, on hats, on jackets, on shirts, on overalls, all kinds of items, even a vest there that looks like it went for about $65. This is a pair of bell bottoms here. You can see how it has quite a bit of wear to it, as well as it's got a hole here in the crotch, lots of fraying, even a broken belt loop. There's the back of the cuff. This one did sell for the full asking price of $175. And this hat, I'm not sure the whole story of this hat, if it's actually made by Levi's or not. It does have that leather patch there on the front, as well as that orange tab there on the side. That's what the inside looks like, and that snap back. And one had 17 bids on it and went for $56. This one is a really interesting one. This is a chambray button-up shirt. You can see that pointed collar there that was really big in the 70s. Some embroidery around that collar, embroidery there on the pocket, as well as the back of this shirt. And this one I'll show you here in a second, but there is that tag. So definitely a vintage tag. If you come across those older tags and you're going, this does not look new, you're probably right. And this one was listed for $80 and it sold for $63. Next, from the 1970s were Banties. Any bands that you can think of that were really big in the 70s, there is a market for those shirts. This one says Paul McCartney and Wings. This is tie-dyed. It is a vintage Hanes tag. Unfortunately, I can't get a better photo of that for you. There is the back of that tag. This one was listed for $300 and sold for $90. A good reminder to always check those comps. Now, all of the pieces that I have been sharing have been verified in Terapeak. I would strongly recommend doing that. I will link to a video up here where I walk you through exactly how. This shirt is from the brand Boston. Now with this one, you can see the fading. You can see it's not in perfect condition, a little bit stretched out there. It was listed for $110 and it sold for $70. And then this Grateful Dead tee. See if I can get zoomed in on that a little bit better there for you. You can see that skull there on the front. You can even see some stains there. And here's the tag photo on that one, another Hanes tag. This one was listed for $200 and it sold for $150. All right, so we have made it all the way to the 80s, and the 80s turned up the volume, quite literally, as well as in fashion. One of the big sellers from this decade are satin bombers. This one that says Bear Drill Team, and it's got somebody's name there, Brandy, on the front of that jacket. There is that tag, made in the USA. You're going to see that a lot in the 80s, that a lot of items were still made in the USA. This was listed for $150 and sold for $80. This is one from Pennzoil. I'm going to zoom in on that for you there. You can see the quilted lining on the interior of that. There is the tag for you. This one was listed for $80 and sold for $50. And this one is a Holiday Inn jacket. So you can see Holiday Inn there on the back. The front is just plain. This one is actually new with tags, which is Common when you're sourcing vintage items to find items like that have those tags. Those tags can be a good indicator of the age. Now, this was listed for $125. The seller was a little bit optimistic, but they ended up taking an offer of $50. And leather jackets are another really big iconic item from the 80s. All kinds of different styles that are selling. One from the brand Shot or Scott. I'm not sure how to say that. You can see the made in the USA, the flag there. And this does have that fur lining to it. It also has a removable liner. This one sold for the full asking price of $300. And of course, color block was really big in the 80s, even in these leather jackets, the geometric design, primary colors. There's the tag on this one. It says mixed blues. This one did sell full price for $125. These older 80s era Banana Republic bombers are selling pretty well. There's a lot of these in the sold listings. If you're to look this up, that is what the tag looks like there. Again, from Banana Republic. This was listed for $250 and went for $150. And pop culture, any TV shows, cartoons, anything from that era that's just so reminiscent of the 80s. There is a demand for these items. It's surging and it's not going away anytime soon. This is a rainbow bright shirt, a girl's size shirt. And this one sold for $50 full price. And this is an Alf shirt. This one actually has the tag cut out of it. This one, a best offer of $76 was accepted. Of course, in the 80s, MTV was king. And anytime you come across these original tees with that original logo, this one's a little bit more unusual design. It's got a Fruit of the Loom tie in the USA. This was listed for $150 and went for $110. All right, so we're now at the 90s. This was a time when thrifted DIY grunge was colliding with the streetwear hype. One of the big sellers from this decade, if not the biggest seller, are baggy jeans. These are a pair of Tommy Hilfiger. There's nothing too special about these jeans. They do have that hammer loop there. These were listed for $60 and sold for $45. Chinko, very big player when it comes to baggy jeans. These are more into the hundreds, sometimes even into the thousands of dollars. This has a pair of dice there on that back pocket. It's got those fraying there at the hems as well as some staining. It's got a 7 there on the front. This one sold for the full asking price of $420.
Real quick, if you are enjoying this video, you love research, you love learning about profitable items, then you're going to love my monthly sourcing boxes. These are deep dives into profitable clothing niches. And I give them away free each and every month to my VIPs inside of the Empowered Reseller membership program. This is my community where I'm personally able to connect with resellers, give personal help. You get access to my entire Empowered Reseller course vault, Q&A days with me, and so much more. Right now, at least as of the recording of this video, I'm also giving away a special bonus gift when you join of all of my keyword guides, of all of my keyword posters, so that you can infuse your current listings with keywords and start seeing sales come in right away. You'll find all of the info down in the description below this video.
And this is a pair of carpenter pants from the streetwear brand Fubu. There is the tag there, and this was listed for $50, and it did sell for that full asking price. Nike windbreakers are another big seller from this era. All types of styles, whether it's a pullover or a full zip, even pants. There's a pants there. One looks like it went for $50. It's an example of one of those full zip jackets, that big swoosh, as well as spell out down the side, the swoosh on the back as well. There is that tag. This was listed for $55 and went for $50. This is another Nike windbreaker jacket, very reminiscent of the 90s style. Again, quilted lining. It's got a small swoosh there. There is the tag, listed for $60, sold for $45. What I would call a sleeper item. Anytime you come across these ACG all condition gear, that was a line from Nike in the 90s. Good way to be able to date these items. This was listed for $100 and it sold for $65. And like I mentioned, grunge was really big, especially grunge flannel. This is a Levi's jacket that's flannel lined with that buffalo plaid. This one was listed for $105 and it sold for $75. This is a Five Brothers flannel plaid shirt. A good way to be able to date these is based off of made in the USA. If it's newer than the 90s, it will not be made in the USA. If it's older than the 90s, there will be a union tag. So that's a really good way to be able to identify this decade. This shirt was listed for $55 and sold for $44. And this quick silver is very reminiscent of that grunge that was so popular in the 90s. This is a hooded jacket button up. This one, it's got a little bit of wear there at the sleeves, some starts of the holes worn through. It's even got a missing button. But that was sold for $47 after a best offer. All right, so we've been on this journey from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. That brings us to the 2000s, which, yes, is now vintage, at least the first half of that decade. Scary, I know. Now, there can be a lot of overlap from decade to decade, especially the 90s into the 2000s, and a good way to handle that is with the Y2K keyword, which refers to that change of the millennium, 1999 to 2000, but it does cover a broader year range than that. Approximately 1995 to 2005, you can safely use that keyword. So if in doubt, use Y2K if you're not sure which is which. And to be honest, I have a little bit of a hard time myself distinguishing from one decade to the other. Now, one of the items that was really popular in those early years of 2000 were trucker hats from Von Dutch, as well as some of their other items. The early 2000s is really when this brand had its big heyday. This is one of those trucker hats. You can see the mesh back there, as well as the tag inside. This was listed for $73 and sold for $55. And this was a bowling style bag. It's a little bit more squared off than a true bowling style bag, but this one sold for the full asking price of $99. And one here that has that true bowling shape. If you're looking to get into handbags and needing to be able to identify these different shapes, I do have a poster specifically for bags I'm going to link to over here. But this is what this Von Dutch bag looks like. This one also sold for the full asking price of $69. Juicy Couture was another big player in those early years of the 2000s, especially their velour tracksuits as well as their handbags. They were oftentimes marketed to be worn together. This is one of those pants. Now, if you can find the complete set, that is always going to get you more money. There is what the tag looks like on these pants. There's nothing on the back, nothing special about these. If you do find the back where there's bling or words across the back, those can get extra money. This ended up going for $70, listed at $96. Now, this is one where it is the complete set. This does not have tons and tons of bling. You can see a little bit of rhinestone there. It's got that logo there at the front of the pants. There is the tag on the inside. These pants don't have anything on the back side. This was listed for $160 and went for $120. Their handbags were really big, velour handbags. This one does happen to be what is terry cloth. You can kind of zoom in on that and see what I mean by terry cloth. It looks like a towel. If you're needing help with those different types of fabrics, those are really important when you're selling fashion. And I do have a guide that goes in depth to be able to help you identify the different types of fabrics. That's how those materials on the tag, that's listed on the tag, how those materials are blended together. So I'm going to link to that here. This one was listed on auction. It had 18 bids on it and ended up going for $291. Party is another big player in early 2000s. The same designer as Von Dutch, by the way. Tattoo artist, you're going to see that tattoo vibe on a lot of their items, as well as all over print. This is an all over print t-shirt. There's the tag there, listed for $50 and went for $44. This is a pair of men's jeans here. It's got a dragon there embroidered across the back end of it. You're also noticing some whiskering, which was really common from this era, as well as fading. They're down at the cuffs as well as across the back of that seat. This one went for the full asking price of $119. And this pair of women's sweatpants, very typical of this designer to incorporate all these different features. You're seeing some rhinestones there, as well as metallic on the leg, as well as a tattoo design there on that other leg. And this one sold full price for $130.
And that's your crash course through vintage fashion bolos by the decade. Once you know these pieces, you're gonna start spotting them in thrift stores, at garage sales, and you'll be able to spot them and pick them up before other resellers do. All right, which decade should I dive deep into next? Let me know in the comments, and if you found this helpful, hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel, and be sure to turn on those notifications so you don't miss more sourcing tips. If you're wondering how to further identify and date vintage items, then you're gonna wanna stick around for the next video where I go in depth to all of that. It is up next, and I will see you there.
Thank you.